Hello and welcome friends. Now that we have discussed the decision support system and the expert system, we are moving on to the executive information system, right? Uh, Before moving on to executive information system, we should understand as to what basically they are meant for. These EIS are meant for. See, I hope you understand executive. By executive, we are basically referring to the top management of the organization, and EIS is basically meant to aid the top management in making decisions. Now please understand this one particular important point, and at times of course they can be used by some managers in the middle management level also. However, this is basically meant for the top management decision making, right? Now, why do we need to have an executive information system to enable the top management decision making? Please understand that the top management decision making is very important, very crucial for the organization. Why? Because top management decision making has great implications on the fortunes of the organization. Think of a CEO, for example, who makes a wrong decision and decides to launch a product expecting it to be a great success in the market. However, the product fails in the market. Don't you think it is going to have great implications on the fortunes of the firm? The firm may have to suffer losses. The firm may have to incur losses because of the product failure in the market, and loss of reputation is also there, and naturally they have consumed a lot of their resources to bring that product out and to launch that product in the market, so that would all be lost. So naturally this kind of a wrong decision is going to have a great implication on the prospects of the firm in the market. However, on the other hand, if let's say there is an operation level employee, a supervisor or a manager at the lowest level in the organization, and he decides that the lunch break is to be shifted by, let's say, 30 minutes. So instead of having the lunch break at 2 o'clock, it is rescheduled to 2:30. Do you think it is going to have such a great impact on the fortunes of the business? No, it's not. So basically what I'm trying to tell you, that the management decisions which are taken at the topmost level, or the strategic decisions, they have great impact on the organization's fortunes, and that is why we need to ensure that such decisions are taken with as much information, as much background information as possible, because if somehow these decisions go wrong, they might cause great losses to the organization. Is this fine? And this is what basically is the objective that EIS fulfills. It supports top management executive decision making, as I said already, and it presents only relevant and focused information in easily comprehensible manner. So it is providing only that information which is important, which is relevant. It is not providing all sorts of information to the decision maker. It is providing only that information which is relevant in a particular context, relevant in relation to a particular decision situation, and the information is provided in a very comprehensible manner, which is easy to understand for the managerial personnel, for the decision maker. So this is one speciality of executive information system. If you compare it with MIS, or the information reporting system, the narrow definition of MIS, I hope you remember. So the narrow MIS, or the information reporting system, what happens there in that case is that basically that is a summary of all the records that we have collected through TPS. So EIS is basically providing a summary of all sorts of things that have happened and that have been captured by the TPS. But that is not the case with EIS. EIS would be doing what? I said IRS is going to basically provide all sorts of reports depending on what all records have been stored, what all data has been captured and stored by the transaction processing system. But what will happen with EIS? EIS will only provide relevant and focused information, right? Now, what are the various components of EIS? Let's have a look. Number one is special database storing external information also. Now this is again another feature which basically distinguishes between which helps you distinguish between EIS and the IRS. A special database it will have, and it will store external information also. Generally in IRS we only store the internal information. However, here we are storing the external information also. What kind of external information? And you can understand why we need external information here, because top management decisions, they have to take into account what is happening in the business, what is happening in the environment, what all developments are taking place in the environment, because that is going to have an impact on the business, and these developments in the environment have to be taken care of to make decisions by the top management. And that is why EIS also provides this external information. It also collects data from the outside, and what all kind of data can be there. It could be with respect to what all regulatory developments have taken place, what all new regulations have come up, are there any change in rules, procedures and laws. So these kind of things will be taken care of by the external. These kind of things will be basically this kind of data will be stored by the EIS. And then the customer trends, how the customer tastes are changing, how the customer trends are evolving. Is customer looking for a very different kind of a product, or is he still sticking with the product which he used to purchase earlier? So how the customer changes, how the customer trends are changing, how the competitor are planning their own moves, whether there has been an increase in number of competitors in the market, there has been a decline in number of competitors in the market. What are they planning? Are they coming up with new products? Are they coming up with different strategies? Are they expanding to different markets? So all this comes under competitor moves, and there can be so much of this kind of external information which is required for decision making at the top level. For example, the other examples of the external data could be the inflationary scenario, the events in the other countries which might impact your country, the monsoons, and the failure of monsoons could lead to a decline in demand in the rural market. So there could be so many pieces of data which may have to be collected from the outside, from the outside of the organization, and which might assist in executive information, which might assist in executive decision making, and that is why they are all part of the executive information system. So the database will have all such kinds of external information. Now this is one kind of data which is not available in the organizational database. Organizational database would not have access to this kind of data, external data. Organizational database will only have the internal data. Then there would be a model base for analysis. I hope you understand what model base is now that we have discussed model base in DSS also. So you understand what model base is. So that would also be there. Now the objective of the AIS is to provide reliable information to enable strategic decision making with long-term implications, and I have discussed this earlier also. Reliable information is to be provided, quality information is to be provided, focused, relevant information, because you cannot bombard the top management executives with all sorts of information which may or may not be relevant for them. You have to provide them only relevant information so that they can make good use of it, and they are not bombarded with unnecessary pieces of information, and they can rely on limited and focused and relevant information to make their decisions. So that is what EIS does. So it provides reliable information to enable strategic decision making, and we have discussed this strategic decision making which has long-term implications on the fortunes of the business. So this is the job of EIS. So friends, now in this particular unit we have had a lot of discussion. We have completed the computer hardware, we talked about the software, networking, we talked about data and databases and database systems, we talked about the database architectures, the hierarchical, the relational and network model, and then we went on to talk about some of the components of MIS, we talked about the DSS, the expert system, and now we have completed our discussion on executive information system also. Now this concludes our discussion on unit 2, and we'll be moving on to unit 3 now, wherein basically we'll be dealing with the systems approach to MIS, right? So thank you very much for your time.